This video is going to be focusing on the Heavy's Sledgehammer and what loadouts you should pair with it to make it worthwhile. So what specializations and what gadgets you can pair with it to make it even better. Because right now, the Sledgehammer is a pretty powerful weapon, so I thought I would make a loadout video for it, just so you can kind of like unlock its maximum potential, I would say. And this might be like the start of a series I do where I talk about loadouts in the future, but for now, we're just going to focus on the Sledgehammer. So here it is. Does very, very good damage, can one-shot lights, and its normal swings aren't so bad either. Pretty good range, and it is also very nice being able to destroy the stuff around you. But what pairs well with it? What should you use when you're using the Sledgehammer? For the specialization, the Winch Claw is a very, very good option because you can pull people towards you, and then you can generally always get a heavy attack on them and just get them real low, and then you can probably just finish them off with an extra swing or two. So if it's a medium, it's going to take one heavy attack and then one light attack, and if it's a light, it's just going to take one heavy attack, and if it's a heavy, I think it takes a heavy attack and then two light attacks. But the only way you're not going to get the heavy attack on someone directly after you winch them is if it's a light and they dash away. In every other situation, you're going to be able to get that heavy attack on them and just get them pretty low, and then you're not going to have a whole lot of issues just finishing them off. So I would say the Winch Claw for sure is definitely a very, very good thing to pair with the Sledgehammer. And also, if your teammate's totem is, you know, kind of like out in the open or something and you don't really want to go out to revive them because you can't shoot the enemies because you have a Sledgehammer, then this is also going to be good for just grabbing your teammate's totems and pulling it to a safe place, or just like pulling the cash out to a point that you want to put it at. So the Winch Claw is very, very, very solid for this loadout, and the Charge and Slam is also going to be very solid. Mesh Shield isn't so good right now, and I suppose we'll get to the Goo Gun in a second, but the Charge and Slam is very good. Very, very good for destroying things, but you don't really need it for destroying things because you have the Sledgehammer already. So you don't really need two things that are going to be doing the same thing, if that makes sense. But it is also good for damage. So if you want to use this purely for hitting into people and only doing damage to them, you should probably go with that. But if you want the Charge and Slam for destructive stuff, mainly, then I would say just use the Sledgehammer and then put on something else instead. Because the Charge and Slam most people use for destroying stuff, and then attacking people is kind of like a secondary thing. But with the Sledgehammer, you can just destroy stuff, and then you can put a different specialization on, so you can kind of like expand your loadout and expand your options in fights and expand your capabilities. So you can use the Charge and Slam if you want. It is very, very good. It does a lot of damage, especially if you get multiple hits on people. It's very good for destroying stuff, but you also already have the Sledgehammer for destroying stuff. It is also a movement speed buff though. It temporarily makes you a little bit faster than a medium, so you can catch up to people if you're using the Charge and Slam, but I think it is going to be easier to just hit them with the Winch Claw. So you can use it if you want, but I do think the Winch Claw is going to be slightly superior when you're pairing it with the Sledgehammer. Then we have the Goo Gun, and this is kind of like what people used to use to stop people, but now people just use the Winch Claw instead. So people used to use the Goo Gun to shoot someone, make it so that they get stuck with the goo, and you can catch up to them, and then you can Sledgehammer them and take them out. But now you can just grab someone and pull them towards you, which is just a better version of that. So you can use the Goo Gun to just like defend areas normally if you want to, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to have the rest of my loadout be pretty defensive. So I actually want to have the Winch Claw for an offensive capability, to pull people towards me and then take them out. So I like having my specialization be pretty offensive, and then having my gadgets be pretty defensive. But you can also go the opposite way if you want. You can also have like the Goo Gun on as a specialization, and then you can go on the offensive with your gadgets. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. But for now, Winch Claw gonna be a good choice. Charge and Slam gonna be a solid choice, and the Goo Gun is gonna be an okay choice that you can use if you want to. But I feel like Charge and Slam or Winch Claw is probably going to be better, and it's probably going to give you an easier time just getting kills and stuff as well. So then obviously the weapon is the Sledgehammer. We're not going to be changing that because this is a Sledgehammer specific loadout. And then for the gadgets. Now, you've got a couple of options here. For defensive capabilities, Goo Grenades are very, very, very good. Barricades are very, very, very good. And the Dome Shield is always going to be good to have on the Heavy. just as like a thing that you can throw down and then you can get a last second steal, or you can throw it down and get a safe revive and all of that kind of stuff. It's just always going to be good in a lot of situations. Even after the numerous nerfs that it has received, it's still going to be pretty solid. So I would generally just keep that on, but it's up to you the other two things you want to have on. So like I said earlier, if my specialization is offensive, then I like having the goo grenade and the barricade for it playing defensively. Alternatively, you can go out, like, you can go full offense if you want. So you could have, like, frag grenades and RPG here, and you could just try and dish out crazy amounts of damage from kind of far away, and then maybe hook someone and bring them in close and take them out. So for this, for the gadgets, I'm just gonna really go through what would be good to use. RPG, still very, very, very solid to use. C4, not fantastic. You're going to be using it to blow stuff up, but you don't really need to blow stuff up because you can just use the sledgehammer to break stuff. There's not going to be a whole lot of point in using the C4. Just use the RPG if you want pure damage, or like frag grenades if you want pure damage, or the sledgehammer, just use the sledgehammer to break stuff, you know? Or the charge and slam if you want to go that route with the specialization. So there's really not a whole lot of point in using the C4 with this loadout. Barricades are very, very, very solid. Dome shield solid. Flashbang is okay. It can be pretty annoying actually if you get flashbanged. If you can't see anything and then a sledgehammer just starts running up to you, that can definitely be pretty annoying. So the flashbangs are actually a pretty solid pick for this loadout, I would say. So you can definitely go with that. You do want to time it right, and you want to get the distance right. You want to stun them properly, so you have to be good at throwing grenades as well, because if you don't hit them properly, it doesn't last for as long, and that's not going to be as useful anymore. But this can also be good for, like, if someone's above you or if someone's underneath you, you chuck one of these, you get the hit marker, and then you, like, bring the platform down, or you go down, and you come up or under from one of the floors or roofs, then that was definitely be pretty annoying for the enemy. So flashbangs, I would say, would actually be a pretty solid pick. I honestly wouldn't go for gas grenades. You can if you want, but I don't think it's going to offer so much with this loadout. Goo grenades, very, very good for defense. Pyronades, these are going to be good if you want to pair them with a goo grenade. If not, I would just kind of avoid it. You can throw them on totems, same with the gas grenade, but they're just really not going to be super valuable. Explosive mine, not that great. It got nerfed. Pyromine is pretty solid. You can run this definitely if you want to. You do have two uses of them, so it is just going to be better than the pyro grenade or the gas grenade, I think. And obviously they only blow up when someone goes over it instead of blowing up on impact. So pyro mines are definitely okay. And then the proximity sensor and the anti-gravity cube are both just going to be preference. The anti-gravity cube is going to pair well with the winch claw, and the proximity sensor is just a thing that you can put on if you enjoy it. So if you want to go on the offense, you can have any kind of combination of these things. For the most part, you can have like frags and RPG. You could have like flashbang and then pyromine. There's a lot of things you can do with the gadgets here. I'm not going to go into like every single combination because that would be insane. But the things you want to stay away from, because I think that's going to be faster, is probably the C4, the gas grenade, and the pyro grenade. And I think anything else it would be worthwhile. And those are the three I would just kind of stay away from. So now we're going to talk about some things that work well with this loadout. Some things that have like good synergy and pair very well together. So what I quite like doing, the loadout I like running, is something like this. So winch, sledgehammer, goo, dome, barricade, and just full defense. And especially if it's a map like Fortune Stadium where there really aren't a whole lot of entrances and exits, you can generally just barricade everything, and then you can just like goo the barricades. You can like goo a layer behind, so you've got extra defense. You can get your cooldowns on everything, and then if one of the barricades gets broken, you can just goo it again. I also like doing this, so I like goo out the whole cash out area, but then I'll go above. The enemies will spend a lot of time trying to get into the cash out area, and then I'll just like break it from above when they start stealing, or break it from below when they start stealing, and we'll probably just get 2 or 3 kills like that. One will probably run away, then I'll just winch them and finish them off as well. So this is very, very, very good, because when someone is trying to break through the defenses, they're generally all kind of grouped up together, because they're all trying to like focus on breaking one barricade or something like that. And if that happens, then you can just start swinging your sledgehammer and have a pretty good time. So I definitely like this, just playing pretty defensively, just trying to like only defend the cash out. The sledgehammer is a close range weapon, right? So I just kind of wait for the enemies to come to me, But when they are there, I don't want them to be able to just start a fight straight away, because that wouldn't be great, because you want to, you know, be wasting their time as much as possible. But I can't shoot at them from far away to waste their time. So what I like doing instead is I like barricading and gooing up the area to waste their time, to get that, you know, cash out ticking, so that we actually get it without them even going for a steal, or without having to wipe them or anything like that. So I just quite like playing like this, and I think it's pretty solid. Another thing that is going to have a lot of synergy with this loadout is probably going to be the anti-gravity cube, because obviously you can make the cash out rise up, and then you can winch it wherever you want. So you can replace this with the barricades, or you can replace this with the goo. I'd probably just leave the dome shield on with pretty much any loadout, but you don't have to. It's not crazily good or anything, it's just very useful. But yeah, so the anti-gravity cube and the winch core are going to pair very, very, very well together if you know how to make them work. I don't really use the anti-gravity cube so much, but if you know how it works and if you're used to it, then I'm sure it's going to be quite good. You can like break a platform above or beneath you, chuck the anti-gravity cube, make it go to a weird spot, probably chuck a dome shield as well. I think that probably rises up with the anti-gravity cube. I'm not too sure about that, but it probably does. And then you might just be able to get a steal in midair. Or it's also going to be good for like, it's going to be good for stealing, or it's going to be good for defending as well, because someone goes to steal, you can chuck it and then bring everyone to a point that's very, very visible for your teammates who are probably going to have guns and not a melee weapon. But even if they both have melee weapons, you can still probably winch someone and get a kill like that, or you can just winch the cash out itself and bring it far away from the cube and just negate the steal, right? So the anti-gravity cube is going to have a lot of synergy with the winch claw, so you can definitely make that work. It's still going to be good with like barricades and stuff as well, because it's going to make it easier to throw the barricade it's going to make it easier to throw the nade if you've got 2 barricades by the cash out. So yeah, that's going to have a lot of synergy. Another thing I like to do, it's a bit of a sneaky thing that doesn't actually work that well, but I do like to do it. I like to put pyromines on sometimes, and then with the pyromines I'll have the barricade. So I'll place 2 barricades, let's say by someone's totem, and I'll kind of try and like block it off, and then I'll put the pyromines behind the barricades, so someone jumps over the barricade to go defib, but then they just get blown up by the pyromines. This actually works a lot. A lot of the time I'll just get kills like this, and it's very satisfying. And you do have 2 pyromines as well, so they're actually like pretty solid right now. Mines are still a bit iffy regarding when they blow up and when they don't and stuff like that, but I think the pyromines are actually pretty solid. So I like pairing the pyromine with the barricade, and you can also pair the anti-gravity cube with the winch claw, and then you can also actually pair the goo with the barricade like I was saying earlier, so you can just barricade and then goo behind that, and just try and block everything off if you want to, which is kind of how I like playing. RPG is also very solid, so if you want to play more offensively, you can just pair like RPG and frag and just try and go for like a whole lot of splash damage and then try and finish people off with the sledgehammer. I can just take people out with the sledgehammer when they're on like full HP, but it definitely wouldn't be so bad trying to get a bit of splash damage in there and then taking them out when they were a little bit more squishy. That would definitely be a good idea too. So if you want to play more offensively, then you could probably go with something like Charge and Slam, RPG, and Frag Grenade, and I feel like you'd probably have a pretty good time with that. You just have to make sure you don't die a whole lot. It's pretty easy to die as a sledgehammer if you're caught out in a bad position, which is why I think the dome shield is always going to be useful. It always just buys you a couple of seconds to get into a better position. And then I also just like the barricades for, you know, healing up. I just like to sit behind them and stay there for a couple of seconds while I get my health regen back after taking a little bit of damage. So I do like the barricades, but you could totally go with RPG and Frag Grenade just for a whole lot of splash damage as well. And then you could try and finish someone off normally. The Charge and Slam would also pair quite well with the RPG and the Frag Grenades. I think that's why I put it on a second ago, actually, because they all give you burst damage. So it's either going to kill someone or get them pretty low. So if you like charge someone once and then you hit them with a jump attack, which isn't so hard to do, and then you RPG them, they're going to be real low. So it's not going to be so difficult to finish them off with like a hit from the sledgehammer. Similarly, if you are using the winch claw and you RPG someone and you like frag them once, they're going to be real low. So if you just winch them, they might just die for that, or if you winch them and then hit them once with like a normal attack, they'll probably just die from that as well. So there's a lot of just combinations here that you can do that would go quite well. And if you're using something like the goo gun, then obviously the pyro grenade would become a little bit more viable, and the pyro mines would probably pair quite well with anything that's goo as well. So you could also go with something that's like pyro mine, and then you could put the goo grenades on like that. So if someone tries going to the goo, the pyre mines blow up and then the goo all gets set on fire or something like that. Just to pair the goo and the fire together. So there's a lot of things here that you can do with the Sledgehammer. There's going to be a lot of things you can do with any loadout, really. It's one of the nice things about this game. But this is pretty viable. I'm in Gold 1 right now, and I've been having a good bit of success with this loadout, just purely staying inside the cash hunt room, just chilling in there, just defending it. If teammates go down, I'll just go try and fortify them. It's also really nice for movement, actually. That's one thing I didn't mention. Barricades are really, 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 really nice for movement. So sometimes on certain maps, like System Horizon, I think is one, and I think some buildings in Seoul is another one, the roof is a little bit too high for you to be able to just jump up. So normally if it's a map like Monaco, you can just jump up to the roof above you. If there's like a hole in the roof, you can just jump it and just mantle it. But if it's a map like Seoul, there are multiple buildings that you can't reach. You can't just mantle it. You need to be standing on top of something. So one really nice thing about the barricades is you can just stand on top of it and then climb up to the roof above. So you can reach like much higher points when you have the barricade, which is really nice. And the wonderful thing about this is if you break a roof and then barricade, you can just go through the hole that you just created. So you don't have to go looking for the stairway. You don't have to go looking for the zip line or the jump pad. You can just smash your way to the roof, and that can, you know, maybe let you open a vault or let you res a teammate or something like that. But it's very, very, very useful, and I actually find myself doing that a lot, especially when it's like a vault you need to open quickly or a teammate you want to res quickly because you don't have much time left or something like that. It's a very, very, very useful thing that you can do with the barricades, and something that can blow stuff up like the Sledgehammer, or just something that can destroy stuff rather. So yeah, there's a lot of synergy here. There's a lot of things that work well together. Winchclaw and Sledgehammer, I think, work pretty well together. And then also Sledgehammer and the goo, or Sledgehammer and the barricades, also work well together as well, because you can destroy your own stuff. So let's say you've barricaded in a bad position, and you don't want that barricade to be there anymore, or let's say an enemy is hiding behind your own barricade, maybe you don't want to jump over it for some reason, maybe you can't jump over it, you can just destroy it. And then there goes the barricade, there goes the enemy's cover, and then you probably just get a kill. So the really nice thing about the goo and the barricades is that you can get rid of them really easily, whereas the enemies probably can't unless they also have like another Sledgehammer person on their team. So yeah, Winchclaw is very good. I will just say that. I'll end on the fact that if someone else is using a Sledgehammer, the Winchclaw can definitely be pretty good at just taking them out. If you just catch them off guard and then just get like the first hit in, you're probably just going to win that fight if it's like another Sledgehammer user, for example, or if it's like just another heavy. I think generally the Winchclaw is going to be able to let you 1v1 that pretty easily. It's also super duper mega useful for just taking someone out of position. So if there's like a team of 3 mediums that all have healing beams and they're all just healing each other and they're all just standing in the same spot, all grouped up together, obviously on this loadout you don't have anything that can do splash damage, right? So what you want to do is you want to winch them, bring them to you and your teammates, and just take them out. And now it's a 2v3. I do this a lot as well. It's very, very, very useful, very handy. So it is also good for that. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I don't think I've really missed out anything here. I will just say don't use the mesh shield. It's really not that good right now at all. So I really would just avoid it, and it's also not going to block things like grenades if someone throws it in the right place, or even the CL40. It's not going to block things like the charge and slam, and it's not going to block things like the flamethrower. So there's really not a whole lot of point in using it right now. It's bad because it's got a really long cooldown after you use it, which really isn't so fantastic. I'm sure that's probably going to get changed at some point, but for now, I really wouldn't use the mesh shield. You can use the Winchclaw if you want. You can use charge and slam. You can use Goo Gun, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make it worthwhile. But Charge and Slam and Winchclaw are definitely going to pair well with Sledgehammer for sure. And then for gadgets, I've just kind of talked through it all already, really, and obviously some stuff pairs better with others. Just one last thing mentioning, when I'm talking about like the fire and the goo grenade synergy, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but goo gets destroyed when fire is happening. So fire burns goo, for anyone that doesn't know that. So that's why I was saying that those have good synergy. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. This is my first time trying to do like a loadout video, so this is like specifically for the Sledgehammer. That's why I'm not talking about any of the other weapons, but I'm sure you probably know that from clicking on the video already. So let me know what you think of the video. I just got an invite from someone, so maybe I should play a little bit of finals now. So I'm gonna wrap this up. So yeah, there is what I believe to be probably the best loadouts for the heavy. So again, if you want to play offensively, RPG and frags would be pretty good. If you want to play defensively, goo and barricade would be good. Winch claw and charge and slam are both going to be pretty solid. And then you do have some other options in there as well, like the pyro mines or the flashbangs or the RPG if you want to go with those. And it just depends on your preference, you know, depends if you want to play offensively or defensively. But I've probably talked about that a lot at this point already, so I'm going to leave this here now. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.